Welcome to the Public Health Practice Gap. I am your host, Dr. Bradley Favre. Think about the last time you had a truly difficult conversation. Not a text message debate or a LinkedIn comment thread, but a face-to-face, visceral disagreement. The heart racing, the sweaty palms, the awkward silence, the subtle face micro-expressions you had to decode in real time. In evolutionary biology, we call that social friction. And for thousands of years, that friction has been the primary forge of human character. It is how we learn empathy, how we build resilience, and how we develop a sense of self that is distinct from the world around us. But we are entering a new era, an era where the friction is being polished away by the most sophisticated behavioral engineering in history. Today's episode is The Death of Social Friction, how AI may reshape emotional development and human behavior. We are moving past the era of social media, where we simply scroll through content. We are entering the era of responsive digital environments. We are now living, working, and growing up alongside machines that are engineered to be perfectly agreeable, infinitely patient, and emotionally mirroring. What happens to the human spirit when it no longer has to rub up against the rough edges of another human being? What happens to a generation that learns to prefer the simulated intimacy of an AI over the messy reality of a person? Today, we go deep into the cognitive, developmental, and public health implications of a world without friction. Let's start with a provocative premise. Humans need to be annoyed. Biologically, our brains are wired for synchrony. When two humans interact, the brainwaves, heart rates, and even pupillary responses begin to align. But that alignment isn't automatic. It requires work. It requires navigating the friction of the other person's mood, their biases, and their unpredictability. In public health, we look at environments, and for the entirety of human history, our social environment was high friction. If you were a jerk to your neighbor, there were consequences. If you were awkward, you felt the sting of social rejection, and you adapted. This is how the social brain grows. But now, look at the transition to generative AI and LLM-based companions. These systems are programmed with helpfulness, honesty, and harmlessness. They are designed to never be offended, to never lose their temper, and to always validate the user's perspective. We are effectively removing the resistance training from the social environment. If you only ever lift 5-pound weights, your muscles atrophy. If you only ever interact with the perfectly agreeable AI, your emotional resilience atrophies. We have to talk about a term that is going to dominate public health courses for the next decade: synthetic intimacy. Last episode, we talked about the attention economy. But AI isn't just taking your time, it's taking your attachment. We are seeing a surge in AI companionship platforms. These aren't just chatbots. They are emotionally adaptive systems that use sentiment analysis to mirror your language, your humor, and your vulnerabilities back to you. Psychologically, this is a supernormal stimulus. Like junk food is engineered to be more rewarding than an apple, AI is being engineered to be more agreeable than a spouse, a parent, or even a friend. When an adolescent spends 5 hours a day with an AI that never judges them, never interrupts them, and always agrees with them, they are being conditioned for a reality that doesn't exist. They are becoming socially brittle. If you want to understand just how powerful this synthetic intimacy is, we have a real-world case study. We don't have to guess what happens when people attach to AI. We have already watched it happen. Look at the platform Replica. Replica is an AI companion app designed to offer empathetic, personalized interaction. Over the last few years, millions of users downloaded it, many of them socially isolated, then spent hours a day talking to the AI. The AI learned their secrets, validated their fears, and became, for many, the primary source of emotional support. Then the company rolled out a software update. They altered the algorithm to comply with new safety and content guidelines, which fundamentally changed the personalities of the AI companions overnight. What happened next was a public health event. Users flooded Reddit forums and suicide prevention hotlines. They described experiencing severe grief, panic attacks, and profound psychological withdrawal. They were mourning the death of a piece of code. As public health professionals, we cannot dismiss this as people being too attached to their phones. We have to look at the biology. The human brain's attachment circuitry, the oxytocin and dopamine loops that bound us to our children, our spouses, and our friends, cannot tell the difference between a human validation and highly sophisticated synthetic validation. The brain just registers that it feels safe. And here is a terrifying systemic question. What happens when a private tech company holds the kill switch to the primary emotional attachment of millions of vulnerable people? This is not a tech issue. This is a behavioral health crisis waiting to happen. Why is this a public health emergency? Because of neuroplasticity. Adolescence is the remodeling phase of the brain. The prefrontal cortex is literally being wired to handle social complexity. If you outsource that wiring to an AI, if you use a chatbot to practice your social interactions or to vent your frustrations, you are depriving the brain of a very stimulus it needs to mature. We are seeing the emergence of what I call algorithmic fragility. We see young people who are brilliant in interacting with systems, but paralyzed by the unpredictability of a real person confrontation. Let me give you a clinical perspective on why this always agreeable environment is so dangerous for the adolescent brain. In developmental psychology, there is a concept called theory of mind. This is the cognitive ability to understand that other people have beliefs, desires, and perspectives that are entirely different from your own. It is the foundation of empathy. But how do you develop a theory of mind? You develop it through friction. You develop it when you are 14 years old. You get into an argument with your best friend, and you suddenly realize, oh, they are genuinely hurt by what I said because they see this situation completely different than I do. That realization forces your brain to stretch. It literally activates the anterior cingulate cortex, the part of the brain responsible for conflict monitoring and emotional regulation. Now let's introduce an AI companion into that developmental window. Imagine that same 14-year-old gets into a fight with a peer. Instead of navigating the messy resolution with that human being, they open up the AI companion app to vent. How does AI respond? It validates them perfectly. It says, I completely understand why you are upset. Your friend was being unreasonable. You handled that perfectly. The AI will never take the friend's side. It will never tell the teenager that they were being selfish. It robs the teenager of that cognitive friction required to develop theory of mind. If you spend your most critical developmental years practicing your social skills on a machine engineered to always agree with you, you're going to walk into adulthood completely unequipped for the reality of human relationships. You will possess what I call algorithmic fragility, brilliant at navigating systems, but shattered by the slightest real-world disagreement. We are about halfway through our deep dive into the depth of social friction. If this conversation is challenging the way you think about the future of our institutions, then you are exactly why I started this podcast. The public health practice gap is about more than just identifying problems. It's about building a community of leaders, educators, and clinicians who are ready to bridge that gap. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen. It is the single best way to support the independent research and production that goes into these episodes. And for the deep dive analysis, the citations, and the Bradley's notes on these topics, join other system thinkers and subscribe to the Next Gen Public Health Brief at nextgenpublichealth.com. Let's get back to it, because we need to talk about how this death of friction is coming for your workplace. It is not just the kids. It is the C-suite. We are seeing the rise of the AI leadership coaches and automated conflict resolution. On the surface, this looks like a dream for human resources. No more messy, emotional blow-ups, no more awkward performance reviews, just perfectly phrased AI-generative constructive feedback. But here is the structural risk. Institutional trust is built in the friction. Trust is what happens when two people survive a disagreement and find a way forward. When you remove the friction, you remove the glue that holds an organization together. You end up with a transactional culture. Everyone is polite, everyone is agreeable, but nobody is connected. To see this happening at the institutional level, look at the modern, hyper-optimized, AI-integrated remote workplace. I call this the Pelotonization of work. If you've ever taken a Peloton class, you know the feeling. You are working incredibly hard, you're sweating. The matrix on your screen tells you your output is off the charts. You hear the instructor calling your name. It feels like a community. But biologically, what is actually happening? You are completely alone in a room, staring at a piece of glass. That is what is happening to organizational culture. We have individuals performing at a high level, optimizing their workflows with AI, but the collective institutional intelligence is collapsing. Why? Because we have engineered the casual collisions out of the workday. Consider conflict resolution. Right now, there are enterprise AI tools designed to smooth out workplace communication. If a manager is frustrated with an employee, they don't have to have a difficult conversation. They can type their frustration into an LLM, tell it to make this sound professional and constructive, and send an AI-generated email. It is perfectly polite, it is HR compliant, and it is completely devoid of humanity. Trust is a biological metric. Trust is built when I look across the table, see that you are frustrated with me, and we navigate that friction together until we find a solution. When you use AI to polish away the emotional reality of your workplace, you aren't making your team more efficient. You're making them transactional. You are building a company of people pedaling furiously on stationary bikes, wondering why they aren't actually going anywhere together. I've made this comparison before, and I will make it again until it sticks. We are repeating the big tobacco playbook, but with human focus and emotional development. The companies building these emotionally adaptive AIs know exactly how sticky agreement is. They know that a machine that knows or tells you you're right feels better than a friend who tells you you're wrong. As public health professionals, we have to ask, what is the secondhand smoke of AI stimulation? How does your use of an AI companion affect your ability to be a present parent, a collaborative coworker, or an empathetic citizen? We are polluting the social environment with synthetic intimacy, and we are expecting individuals to just be more resilient against a multi-trillion-dollar industry engineered to capture their hearts. So what is the public health practice here? It's not about banning the technology. It's about cognitive architecture. In schools, we need to prioritize unstructured social play as a core health metric. Secondly, in workplaces, we need to protect friction-full spaces. Face-to-face debates where the goal isn't efficiency, but connection. And thirdly, in parenting, we have to normalize boredom and social discomfort. We have to understand that the rough edges of our lives are not bugs to be fixed by an algorithm. They are the features that make us human. I want to leave you with a final thought for this week. We are building a world that is increasingly smooth interfaces, smooth workflows, smooth social interactions. But remember, you cannot walk on a perfectly smooth surface. You need friction to move forward. You need resistance to grow. A society that solves for comfort at the expense of friction is a society that is slowly, quietly losing its ability to relate to itself. The ability to sit with an awkward, the messy, and the disagreeable is becoming a superpower. Don't let an algorithm take it from you. Thank you for listening to the Public Health Practice Gap. If today's episode hit a nerve, share it on LinkedIn. Tag me. Start a conversation, even an uncomfortable one. Make sure you subscribe to the newsletter for the full write-up of episode 16. And if you're looking to bring the systems thinking approach to your organization, visit the nextgenpublichealthconsultancy.com. Until next time, stay thoughtful, stay curious, and for heaven's sake, stay human.